It started as an ordinary day in a small town, but for one black veteran, life took a devastating turn he never saw coming. Falsely accused of a crime he didn't commit, his reputation and future were torn apart by a group of corrupt police officers with their own hateful agenda. Stripped of his honor and his freedom, he faced a battle no one should have to fight. But the story doesn't end there. Years later, his grandson, driven by love, justice, and an unshakable determination, uncovers the truth. What he discovers sends shockwaves through the town and leaves everyone questioning what they thought they knew. In this tale of injustice, courage, and redemption, one family's fight for justice reveals the power of perseverance and the unexpected ways justice can prevail. Stick around to see how this story unfolds and prepare to be amazed by a twist you won't see coming. The veteran, known in the neighborhood as Mr. Henry, had always been a pillar of strength. A quiet man with a strong sense of justice, he had served his country with pride and returned home to build a life for his family. But everything changed one fateful night. A robbery had occurred across town, and despite a lack of evidence, the finger was pointed squarely at him. The officers claimed they had witnesses, but the truth was buried under lies and prejudice. Henry's family was devastated, but their protests fell on deaf ears. The trial was swift, the verdict inevitable. He was sent away, branded as a criminal. Over the years, his name became a whisper, his story fading into the shadows. Yet his grandson Marcus never forgot. As Marcus grew older, the weight of his grandfather's injustice stayed with him. And when a forgotten clue emerged, everything began to change. Marcus had always been close to his grandfather, even as a child. He remembered the stories Mr. Henry would tell about honor, resilience, and standing up for what's right. But as Marcus grew older, those stories were replaced by a quiet pain that never seemed to fade. Determined to uncover the truth, Marcus started asking questions no one wanted to answer. He pored over old court records, dug through dusty police reports, and talked to anyone who might remember the events of that night. What he found shocked him. Witness statements were inconsistent, evidence had been mishandled, and there were whispers of corruption involving the officers who arrested Mr. Henry. The deeper Marcus dug, the more he uncovered a tangled web of lies and injustice. But it wasn't just about his grandfather anymore. This was bigger. Someone was trying to keep the past buried, and Marcus was getting too close for comfort. As Marcus dug deeper, he realized the truth was more dangerous than he'd imagined. Late one night, while combing through an old file he'd managed to retrieve from an archive, he stumbled upon a name, a key witness whose statement had mysteriously vanished from the original trial. Tracking this person down became his new mission. After weeks of searching, Marcus found himself face to face with an elderly woman who had lived in the shadows of fear for decades. With trembling hands, she revealed what she had seen that night: the police planting evidence and coercing statements to frame his grandfather. But just as Marcus began piecing everything together, strange things started happening. His apartment was broken into, his research was stolen, and anonymous threats warned him to stop digging. The stakes were higher than ever, but Marcus refused to back down. With his family's legacy and the truth on the line, he prepared to confront the people responsible, no matter the cost. As Marcus prepared to expose the truth, an unexpected twist threw everything into chaos. While reviewing surveillance footage from that fateful night, a tape someone anonymously slipped under his door, Marcus noticed something chilling. A familiar face was in the background. A young officer who had just started his career at the time of the incident. That officer, now a high-ranking figure in the police department, had built a spotless reputation over the years. Conflicted but undeterred, Marcus decided to confront him. But when he arrived at the officer's house, he was met with an unexpected confession. The man admitted to being there that night, but claimed he had been coerced into staying silent. He even hinted that the corruption ran higher than anyone suspected, involving people in positions of power who would stop at nothing to protect themselves. Marcus realized this wasn't just about his grandfather anymore, It was about dismantling an entire system of injustice. With the officer's confession in hand, Marcus knew he had to act quickly. He gathered every piece of evidence he had, the coerced statements, the planted evidence, and now the testimony of someone who had been inside the system. With the help of a local journalist willing to take a risk, Marcus prepared to go public. The story broke like wildfire, and the community, once silent, began to speak out. More witnesses came forward, each adding another piece to the puzzle. But just when it seemed justice was within reach, Marcus discovered one final betrayal. The anonymous tip that had helped him uncover the truth came from someone he never expected, a family friend who had been working to keep the truth hidden all along. They had hoped Marcus would uncover just enough to expose the officers, but not enough to implicate others in power. Refusing to be manipulated, Marcus released everything, exposing not just the officers, but the entire network of corruption. In the end, the truth prevailed. The officers responsible were brought to justice, and Mr. Henry's name was cleared. But the fight left Marcus changed. Knowing that sometimes justice requires more than courage, it demands unshakable resolve to see the fight through, no matter the cost. With the truth finally out, Mr. Henry's name was restored, and the community rallied around him and his family. For Marcus, the journey wasn't just about clearing his grandfather's name. It was about reclaiming dignity and exposing the cracks in a system that had failed so many. The trial of those responsible sparked a wave of reform, forcing the town to confront its past and commit to change. Mr. Henry, now an old man, lived to see his honor restored. Though the years lost could never be returned, the smile on his face as he held the official apology from the state was priceless. Marcus, inspired by the fight for justice, decided to dedicate his life to advocacy, ensuring no one else would endure what his grandfather had. As the family stood together under the evening sky, they knew this wasn't just an ending. It was the start of a legacy built on truth, resilience, and hope.